Most people never imagine that one day they will be the one sitting alone at the dining table. We say our vows, till death do us part, when we marry, understanding what they mean, yet deep down, we often picture a different ending. We imagine growing old together and leaving this world side by side, peacefully and hand in hand. If not that, we sometimes hope to be the one who goes first, spared from the loneliness that follows. But life doesn't always work that way. My name is William. I am 83 years old, and 6 years ago I lost Jessica, the woman who shared more than 5 decades of my life. We were married for 51 years. Jessica was far more than my wife. She was my closest companion, the keeper of memories I sometimes forgot, and the one person who knew me so well she could finish my thoughts and still find joy in doing so after all those years. When she died, it felt as though the world had shifted out of place. Everything around me appeared unchanged, yet nothing felt familiar anymore. For a long time, I doubted I would ever recover. Some mornings I would wake up and, for a brief moment, forget she was gone. Then I would reach across the bed and feel the empty space beside me, and the pain would return as sharply as ever. Grief has a way of surprising you. It follows no schedule and respects no rules. It can appear in the most ordinary moments, a glimpse of her favorite tea on a grocery shelf or a ray of sunlight falling across the untouched side of the bed. Many people told me that time would heal the pain and that eventually I would move on. But those words often come from people who have never experienced a love as deep and enduring as the one Jessica and I shared. The truth is, you do not simply move on from that kind of love. At best, you learn how to move forward. During the 6 years since her passing, I have learned lessons I never expected to learn, difficult lessons born from loss, loneliness, and long nights when life seemed empty and directionless. Looking back, I wish someone had shared these insights with me when my grief was still fresh and overwhelming. That is why I want to share them now. I am not speaking as a counselor or a spiritual leader. I am simply a man who has traveled a long road through grief and continues to take it one day at a time. If you have recently lost a spouse, or if you sometimes wonder how you would cope should that day ever come, I want to talk about 5 things you should avoid doing after the loss of a partner. There is no instruction manual for grief, and every journey is different. Still, these are mistakes I made myself, and I hope that by sharing them, I can help spare someone else from unnecessary suffering. Let us begin. The first thing you should never do after losing your spouse is isolate yourself. The day after Jessica's burial, I sank into my recliner and turned on the television. I couldn't tell you what was on the screen. It didn't matter. I just needed some kind of background noise because the silence felt unbearable. When the phone rang, I ignored it. When my daughter stopped by, I stayed quiet and pretended to be asleep. Friends and neighbors brought meals to the house, but I left them untouched until they spoiled. I didn't want visitors. I didn't want conversations. Most of all, I didn't want to hear well-meaning comments about Jessica being in a better place. The only place I wanted her was beside me. At the time, I believed shutting myself away would help me cope. What I eventually learned was the exact opposite. Being alone doesn't reduce grief, it gives it room to grow. I thought solitude would numb the pain, but instead it made the loss feel even heavier. Day after day blended together, and before I knew it, I wasn't really living anymore. I was simply getting through the hours. Then one afternoon, my neighbor Steve refused to take no for an answer. He knocked repeatedly until I finally opened the door. Without making a speech, he handed me a thermos of coffee and invited me to sit on the porch with him. We sat together quietly. We hardly spoke at all. Yet for the first time in weeks, I felt a little less alone. That simple act reminded me that human connection matters, especially during grief. Healing often begins when someone acknowledges our pain and remains present through it. So if you're mourning the loss of a spouse, don't push everyone away. Accept invitations. Pick up the phone. Allow family and friends to be there for you. If tears come, let them. No one is meant to carry such a burden entirely on their own. The second mistake is making major decisions too soon. After Jessica died, I wanted to escape every reminder of her. I convinced myself that selling the house, giving away her belongings, donating her books, and starting over somewhere else might lessen the pain. I came very close to doing exactly that. The boxes were packed, and I had already contacted a real estate agent. Then one evening, my youngest daughter, Diana, gave me a piece of advice that changed everything. She told me that I didn't need to run from my memories, I simply needed to learn how to live with them. Her words stayed with me. Grief creates a sense of urgency. The pain is so overwhelming that you believe a dramatic change will somehow make it disappear. But decisions made in the middle of intense sorrow are often decisions made from fear. Thankfully, I chose to wait. I kept the house and the memories inside it. At first, those reminders brought tears. Over time, however, they became sources of comfort. Jessica's notes scribbled in books, the scent lingering on an old scarf, and even her favorite chipped coffee mug became treasured connections to the life we shared. These possessions weren't merely objects. They were pieces of our story. That's why it's important to give yourself time. Avoid rushing into selling your home, clearing out belongings, moving away, beginning a new relationship, or making any other life-changing choice. Allow the initial storm of grief to pass. While time cannot erase the loss, it often softens its intensity and helps you make decisions with clarity rather than desperation. The third thing you should never do is neglect your health. In the weeks after Jessica's death, eating felt pointless. Some days I survived on little more than a banana or a slice of toast. Within a month, I had lost 15 pounds. I also stopped paying attention to my medical needs. I missed appointments, ignored my medications, and stopped caring about my well-being. Eventually, my body gave out. One morning I collapsed in my kitchen and ended up in the hospital. There, a doctor said something that deeply affected me. He reminded me that Jessica hadn't passed away so that I could slowly destroy myself through neglect. He told me there was still life ahead of me. Those words forced me to see things differently. Taking care of myself wasn't selfish. It was necessary. Although my wife was gone, I was still alive. There were still people who loved me and cared about my future. If you're grieving, make your health a priority. Keep your appointments. Take your medication. Eat nourishing meals. Stay active, rest when needed, and drink enough water. Grief places enormous strain on both the mind and body. Looking after yourself is one of the most important ways to keep moving forward. The fourth mistake is pretending you are fine when you are not. For a long time, I tried to appear strong. Whenever someone asked how I was doing, I smiled and said everything was okay. I joked with neighbors and hid my emotions behind a brave face. But beneath the surface, I was struggling. One afternoon, I was kneeling beside Jessica's rose bush when my grandson walked over. He gently placed his hand on mine and asked if I missed his grandmother. I couldn't answer. I simply nodded, and then all the emotions I had been holding back finally came pouring out. I cried harder than I had in months. That experience taught me something important. Grief is not a sign of weakness. Crying is not failure. Tears are evidence of love and loss. They show that someone mattered deeply. When we suppress our emotions, we often prolong the healing process. Giving ourselves permission to feel the pain is a necessary part of recovery. It's okay to admit you're struggling. It's okay to feel broken. Whether it's a trusted friend, a family member, a counselor, a faith leader, or a support group, talk to someone. Share what you're carrying. Being honest about your pain can be incredibly freeing. The fifth and perhaps most difficult lesson is this: don't forget that your life still has purpose. After Jessica died, I felt as though my reason for living had disappeared. For years, she had been at the center of my daily life. We shared routines, laughter, plans, and memories. Without her, everything felt empty. But over time, I began noticing life's small gifts again. I heard my grandson's laughter. I enjoyed the aroma of fresh coffee in the morning. I watched sunlight spill across the kitchen floor. Little by little, I became engaged with life once more. Eventually, I started volunteering at the local library, reading stories to children. I repaired bicycles for neighborhood kids and shared Jessica's cookbooks with newly married couples beginning their own journeys. Through those acts, I felt connected to her memory. Losing your spouse does not mean your purpose is gone. You still have experiences to share, wisdom to offer, people to encourage, and lives to touch. You may never stop missing the person you loved, but you can continue carrying their memory with you as you move forward. Their influence remains part of who you are. And while their physical presence may be gone, the love you shared continues to shape the life you still have left to live.